really appreciate all of you joining in today. I wanted to just take a few minutes at the beginning, tell you a little bit about the UiPath, about what we do, and the slide sort of summarizes it really well in just one sentence. We try to make sure that we can take the repetitive, mundane, the monotonous out of human workload so that people can be productive, people can enjoy the work that they're doing. To tell you a little bit more about UiPath and what our technology is, I've got a few other slides to talk about, but I want to start with digital transformation. This is what companies are trying to do today, and companies have to transform themselves digitally to improve their customer experiences, to improve the way they manufacture products, the way they manage their supply chains. And as they look at that transformation process, most companies realize that they need to do it quickly. They need to do it at a pace that they haven't done transformation ever before. And that's where automation comes in. Automation helps you drive the transformation across the organization using the existing systems that you have in place so they can continue to make iterative improvements on the process, on the things that you're trying to make improvements upon. And that's the power of what we are trying to do with our platform. So let's talk a little bit more about sort of how we make that happen. You'd say that UI automation is maybe something that's been around for a while. People have used it in things like test automation and other things. What's so special about what UiPath is doing today? And I'd say that the special thing that we do today is with AI, with machine learning. What you could do around scripting in the legacy sort of UI automation technologies wasn't resilient, wasn't robust, wasn't built to support automation of business processes. And what we've done over our history is really built a technology that leverages AI, that leverages the power of machine learning and deep learning to be able to understand what is on the computer screen, just like how a human eye would understand it. So we see the computer screen, we see every aspect, every pixel on the computer screen, just like a human eye sees it. And human eye doesn't distinguish between what the rendering technology for the UI is, whether it gets rendered in a browser or in a Windows application or in a virtual desktop screen. We're able to sort of identify a text box as a text box and work with it, interact with it. And that's exactly the technology that we've built with computer vision, to be able to see exactly what is on the computer screen, be able to interpret it, be able to understand that this thing is actually a field that has the customer name because it's next to the label that says customer. So we know that that's what it is. And tomorrow, if the application or the way the computer system renders it changes a little bit, it moves the screen around from one pixel definition to another pixel definition, we are able to, just like a human eye can react to that change and understand that it is because it looked at proximity of the field. Our technology does the same thing. So we are able to discover what the actual field is and then be able to apply a sequence of operations on the fields that you want to do so you can automate that business process interactively and execute business process on it. We've enhanced the core sort of capabilities around computer vision as we started doing business process automation for companies to be able to do more. As our customers looked at the automation that we're driving for repetitive mundane processes, they said, well, we're getting lots of great ROI on the investment that we've done in the first few processes that we've automated with UiPath. We have a lot more processes that we want to go automate. So can you help us discover what other processes are good for automation within our enterprise, and do it not through, again, a human mundane process of interviewing everyone in the organization, but do it based on data. So we introduce capabilities to be able to analyze event logs, human activity logs, to understand what business processes are in the enterprise and how they can be automated. We've done capabilities to support the ability to make predictions, any predictions that you want to do for automating a business process. You can take any machine learning algorithm and you can say, I want to be able to consume it within UiPath and my process that I'm automating, because I've got a long process that I'm automating And a step in that process is making a decision, and that decision is based on human intelligence, human intuition. And I've got a machine learning algorithm that can do this now, same as human intelligence, and I want to consume that within my automation. So we created capabilities to be able to take any AI ML algorithm and consume it within the orchestration of business process that we're trying to do. And I'd say, one last thing is we looked at sort of enhancing our platform to support more AI and more AI-driven automation, was to involve humans. We realized that while autonomous process execution is great because it can take care of so many things without having to depend upon humans, but depending upon humans is actually a good thing when you run into exceptions and you run into things that require validation. And being able to insert a human in the loop to not only look at exceptions and validate can get you more sort of processes that you can automate, because maybe 90% of the times a process can run autonomously, but 10% of the times it requires a human to validate, correct certain things. And then as humans do that, it actually improves and retrains the algorithm that you're using to automate the business process. So having a human in the loop capability that can be used to execute a long-running business process, suspend it when it gets to a stage where you need human input, resume it once humans get a chance to look at it, provide input so you can continue execution, and then use that human judgment to go retrain that algorithm. That's really important. So we've done some great work there based on that. Because our technology works at the user interface level, just like a human eye can work, we can make our technology work pretty much on any application that's being used in the enterprise. So whether you're using a legacy application to run a business process, or whether you're using a modern SaaS-based application or a productivity application that's running on a mobile device, the way we've built our underlying technology is to be able to use anything that humans can use on a computer. So it does not require you to have an API or an interface built to be able to connect a process across different silos. What we've seen is in the enterprise, there's generally a couple hundred systems that companies use to execute business processes in the enterprise. What we can do is, some of them may have great APIs and you can use those APIs, and those are easily consumable. They've got great authentication framework built around them, and anybody can use it, and that's great. Those we can use with API-based integration. But there's others that don't have the APIs built, or they're done in a way that it's really hard for somebody to consume. So we can sort of marry the power of consuming API with UI-based automation, and then combine that in the same interface, in the same designer, with machine learning skills, so that you can make predictions and decisions based on the data that you're gathering and collecting from different systems, which makes it really, really powerful. We've also seen great use cases in sort of lengthening or making it easy for people to use machine learning within the context of enterprise business processes, because a lot of the problem with data science is, as one of my friends told me earlier, was the first problem with data science first is the scientist and the data. It's hard to get great talent and scientists that can build that thing, and once you get the talent, it's hard to get the data. Well, we solve the data problem here, because we can go grab the data wherever it exists in the enterprise and feed it to the algorithms for either training, labeling, or running in the context of the prediction that is being made. So that makes it really possible with the companies. We look at our sort of automation platform and framework. We look at it all the way. First of all, it applies to every user within the organization, whether you're a business process analyst that's trying to understand a process and improve it, or whether you are a business user that is not using or building anything, but really wants to use automation so that then we are more productive in the organization, or whether you're an analyst that's trying to understand the impact of automation on the business process. We provide capabilities that sort of span the life cycle of the automation platform, all the way from discovering what you want to automate using, again, data-based techniques to discover how work's getting done in the enterprise, where inefficiencies exist, and what you want to automate around those inefficiencies, to be able to build and build using a set of skills that mimic human intelligence, whether it is understanding and interacting with UI through computer vision, whether it's classifying documents and extracting information from documents, or making predictions based on the business process. We let you combine sort of that power of human intelligence to mimic human behavior to create more automations within the enterprise. Then we have the ability to deploy it in a way that companies want to run it in a scalable manner with security and governance that large corporations need, and then be able to run that in autonomous or semi-autonomous mode where humans can engage with the automations as they're running. Like human in the loop is a great example of humans being able to insert themselves into the process to guide robotic execution. Sometimes our technology is used by people that work, for example, in call centers, where call centers have a lot of repeatable pattern of work that they do over and over again. Well, instead of them doing it themselves, they can click a button on the screen somewhere on their agent desktop, and that arranges their screen a certain way, or takes information from one screen and cascades it to 7 different applications that need that information to be able to execute the transaction that the agent is trying to process. So that sort of is the end-to-end platform, and then the platform is capable of sort of the entire life cycle, and I'll cover sort of some of the highlights that rely on AI and machine learning to make this automation lifecycle possible. So whether it's in Discover, which is helping discover where automation opportunities exist, or whether it's in building, or whether it's in managing, where AI Center deploys specialized AI skills, we leverage AI in pretty much all aspects of the automation lifecycle process. So let's dive a little bit deeper into like a few of the things that are on this slide and tell you a little bit more. We have other follow-up sessions. My colleague Tony Zhang is going to be on the panel later today, talk a little bit more about document understanding and AI use, but I'll give you a preview of sort of some of the things that Tony's going to go dive a little bit deeper on. But first, let's look at Discover. So Discover is the ability to observe a business process through system logs. So if you talk to a process analyst or a process expert in an organization, and you said, well, tell me how you do a procure-to-pay process, for example, and they will typically draw a straight line and they say, here's the 5 steps that we follow in executing the business process. And if you went and asked sort of the people that are responsible for executing the business process, they'll give you a little bit more complicated picture. They'll say, well, usually we do it this way, but sometimes this happens, and then we have to go down this path and wait on this person to give us this, and that usually takes longer. And by the time you're done sort of discovering all of this manually by talking to people, it could be weeks, months, and you still never get the exact picture because you'll never have the bandwidth to talk to all the people that are executing the process. So what we've done is we've created the ability for our customers to listen to the event logs that are being generated by all the people within the organization, to be able to see what is the most common process, which typically would be the one that your process analyst or process owner draws, and then look at the variations that happen across the different exceptions that happen in the process. Also observe like what happens during those variations. Where do bottlenecks typically exist? And usually you'll realize that there is one step in the process where a bottleneck exists. And then you can take on the process and drill in onto this process to understand more about what is causing the delay. Is it human capacity that's causing the delay? Is it because certain information is lacking from and has to be gathered from some other sources, some external parties to be able to do that? So you can kind of analyze that and decide if automation could be a way to improve that bottleneck and make efficiencies in the business process. And we believe that this observation of event logs and process is a continuous process. As in, you find a bottleneck, you think that with automation you can improve it, but then as you improve it, you'll realize that there's other places that you've now shifted the bottleneck to, and you want to continue to look at that bottleneck and improve it. So this is what looks at event logs to help sort of discover automations. The other thing that we do is we augment process mining with task mining, and task mining looks at human activities. So sometimes you'll realize that, well, in my process, there's a certain step that is causing a lot of delay. And maybe it is entering the purchase requisition into the system, or maybe it's capturing the order from the customer. And you want to find out, well, why does it take so long to do that actual step? And you want to understand, what are people doing to find out, what is in that actual step that's causing the delay. And sometimes what they're doing is not recorded by event logs. They may be spending a lot of time in manipulating data in Excel. That takes them like 20, 30 minutes to manipulate the data in Excel. And because a system like Excel doesn't generate any event logs, any system logs, you will never find out that inefficiencies related to what people are doing in Excel. And so what we do there is we're able to observe what people have on their screens when they're completing those steps, and be able to find both what those steps are that are causing the delay in execution of the business process, and how many times are we executing that process. And then based on that pattern that we've identified, we can discover more opportunities for UI-based automation that can help make the certain business processes efficient. So the combination of process mining and task mining gives a holistic view to the companies to truly understand, what their processes are, what's causing the delay, and how we can improve the process and make efficiencies there. Document understanding, and again, Tony's going to go into detail on document understanding, but this is another example of an embedded AI capability that's in the product, from all the way from digitizing documents by understanding either OCR or handwritten documents, extracting the characters that are on the page, to classifying what type of document it is, and then extracting information once you've classified the document to be, let's say, either a structured form like a tax form or a semi-structured document like an invoice, and being able to say, well, this is actually the invoice number, and this is the PO number field, and this is that thing, and then being able to always include humans into that step. And this is a human validation step we're looking at, where you've got an invoice on the right-hand side and what's extracted on the left-hand side, and humans can validate if you got that information correctly or not. So, really make sure that you, first of all, have a model to extract information. If you extracted the information with lower confidence, you can pause, suspend the execution of the process, send it to a human to validate the extracted data, and humans can validate and correct that, and that validated data goes back and feeds and improves the model. And this is a great example of how humans and AI can work together to execute business processes, but also improve the accuracy of the predictions that are being made. So very quickly, we have limited time today. I'd say there's when we talk about our product and what sort of separates us from the other people that talk about RPA and automation platforms, it's really three things. First of all, it's the accuracy and resiliency with which we do UI automation, applying AI-based computer vision so we can not only automate across every surface that you may see in the enterprise, whether it's a ActiveX screen built in the early 2000s, or a mainframe screen built in the 2000s, or a VDI deployed 5,000 miles away, or a modern web browser-based application. We can understand all of this and continue to work in a highly resilient fashion as minor changes happen across the UI. The second thing is the ML and AI. That is not a bolt-on. That is not a separate thing that you have to kind of figure out. It's just embedded, part and parcel of the platform, whether it's skills such as document understanding that we looked at, or being able to take a text understanding algorithm to do sentiment analysis. All of those are just part and parcel of the platform, and it's drag and drop, simple click to be able to execute it and make it part of the platform. And then, creating developer experiences that everybody can use, so you can easily consume this ML and AI algorithms to create more and more automations within the enterprise. And I'll wrap up with just a few brag rights about just how analysts look at the space, and I'll go through this quickly. Gartner ranks us in the top right quadrant as a leader. Forrester, they've consistently done this for the last couple of years. They've done the Magic Quadrant, or ever since they've done the Magic Quadrant RPA. Forrester's ranked us as a leader for many, many years, and we're very proud that Everest just came up with, just a couple of weeks ago, came up with with their ranking, and they also called us our leader. So we continue to distance ourselves from the rest of the players, even though some of the players have changed over the years. We continue to stay in the leadership position. So I think that's all the time that we have, but maybe I'll just do one more slide and talk a little bit about where we're going. First of all, we're continue to focus on the needs of large enterprise companies that are focused on automation at scale. Make sure we can deploy the platform for the needs of both scale and the ability to run executions at high compliance, be able to audit what they're doing. So all of those things are a core priority for us and will remain a priority for us. We also look at our platform actually expanding to support more use cases within the enterprise. With AI-based automation, you can expand and hit more use cases, whether they're related to just integration or business process automation or just end user workflows, citizen developer workflows to do a simpler if this then that type of automation. We also focus on discovery product. We'll continue to focus on discovery, and our focus here is continuous discovery, which is you find a process and inefficiency and automate it, and we'll continue to see how the bottleneck is shifted so you can continuously make improvements to your process as business priorities change, business processes change, and also as with automation, you find newer ways of doing processes and find newer inefficiencies in the process. Semantic automation is the capability there, which basically is AI helping build automation. Instead of humans creating automation with very specific point-by-point clicks, it is our AI algorithms finding out what people are doing, finding repeatable patterns, and saying, I've created the automation for you that you can go execute. So we've done some early work there with Forms AI to be able to extract information from forms without having to specify each field, and we will continue to do a lot of work there.